When I was a little girl, I loved hearing my grandmothers tell stories about when they were children, about how they didn't sleep like we did. They weren't lazy. They got up. They had to do chores and walk to school and stuff like that. They never told me anything about being poor or being mistreated by white people. So in my mind, I assumed that they just were. I just figured that probably wasn't a conversation they wanted to have. But later on, as I became an adult, I was a part of my church, and we used to celebrate Black History Month. And they asked me to do an assignment. My assignment was to talk about any of my sheroes. Hero, rather, but I said I had sheroes, that were my grandmothers, right? So I decided to call each of them separately and dig a little bit into their past. What I discovered was that my grandmothers did not grow up poor. They were not mistreated by white people. They weren't spat on. They weren't called the N-word. There was separation, segregation, water fountains, the bus thing. Those things did exist, but they were never treated poorly by white people. They functioned in society, and they got along well. They were born and raised in the Carolinas, and so they didn't have the hard time that I thought they did. Check this out. My mom's mom, her father had a 5th grade education, and he was an entrepreneur. He had his own store. He owned his own store, and he was a fisherman, so he would fish and sell fish. They were well off. They did not grow up poor. They had everything they need plus some. My dad's mom, she grew up just the same. They had everything they need. Her mom used to jar fruits and vegetables and sell them, and then her stepfather owned a farm. So they did not grow up poor. In the South, they had land. When you had land, you can grow things. They were able to function without an education and still make money. It was when they decided that they wanted to do better when they became adults and they moved to the city, to New York, because it was supposed to be the land of milk and honey, right? To come here and make money, blah, blah, blah. What happened was they didn't do well. They raised my parents struggling. Ain't that something? That's something to think about. I'm telling y'all this story because they made us believe that there was more here. We came here and we built these cities. We came here and built their businesses. It was still in slavery, but the mind was still enslaved because we believed that we could do better. People gave up their land to come here to live in projects, apartment complexes and stuff. And that was so backward. Sit down and talk to the elders in your family and learn your history.